Before we begin, pause for a second and ask yourself this. What if an entire city vanished? Not because of a disaster you've heard about, not because of a war shown on the news, but because someone somewhere decided it should never be remembered? If stories about lost places, buried truths, and secrets hidden in plain sight pull you in, stay with me until the end. And if you want more cinematic documentaries like the stories that feel forbidden, forgotten, or almost erased, make sure you're subscribed before the story disappears too. Because tonight, we're going somewhere you were never supposed to find. The last known photograph of the city was taken on a gray morning in late October. The sky hung low, like it was pressing down on the rooftops. In the image, a man stands alone at a tram stop, coat buttoned to his chin, a briefcase hanging from his hand. Behind him, apartment blocks stretch upward in perfect rows, windows catching the dull light. Everything looks ordinary, too ordinary, because within weeks, every official map would pretend this place never existed. The city was called, or at least that's what the residents called it. The name doesn't matter anymore. It was removed from atlases, censored from textbooks, and scratched out of government registries. Search modern maps and you'll find nothing but empty land. Sometimes labeled as forest, sometimes as restricted territory, sometimes as nothing at all. But for decades, nearly 500,000 people woke up there every morning. They drank coffee in narrow kitchens. They argued on balconies. Children ran late to school, cutting through courtyards where laundry lines swayed between concrete walls. The city had theaters, hospitals, universities, factories, and a stadium that shook every weekend with chanting fans. Trains arrived on schedule. Power rarely went out. From the outside, it looked permanent. That was the illusion. The city was built quickly, too fast. In the years after the war, planners arrived with blueprints rolled under their arms and promises on their tongues. This would be a model city, they said, a symbol of progress, a place that would never fail. Entire neighborhoods rose in months, not years. Streets were laid out in clean grids. Identical apartment blocks multiplied like reflections in a mirror. People were encouraged, sometimes pressured, to move there. Jobs were guaranteed. Housing was subsidized. The future felt secure. But the city had one feature missing from the brochures. It did not belong on the map. Officially, it was designated as a closed administrative zone. The reason given was vague: industrial sensitivity, national security, strategic importance. Visitors needed permits. Journalists were discouraged. Foreigners were forbidden entirely. Even domestic travelers were asked questions when buying train tickets. Why are you going there? Who do you know? Most people didn't ask further questions. They were busy surviving, busy building lives. Underneath the city, buried deep beyond the basements and subway tunnels, something else was being built. Something that did not appear on any architectural plan. Trucks arrived at night, their license plates covered in mud. Materials were delivered under armed escort. Workers signed documents they weren't allowed to read twice. Some of them never came back to the surface. Rumors spread quietly, like drafts through cracked windows. Some said it was a weapons facility. Others whispered about experiments. A few believed the city itself was the experiment. No one ever spoke too loudly. In a place where nothing officially existed, even curiosity felt dangerous. By the late 1980s, things began to change. Residents noticed small disruptions at first. Trains ran late. Then, the routes were quietly canceled. Sections of the city were fenced off for renovation and never reopened. A hospital wing closed overnight. Doctors were reassigned without explanation. The local newspaper stopped printing birth announcements. Then came the sirens. They weren't loud. They weren't dramatic. Just short, controlled alerts that echoed through the streets at irregular hours. People were told it was a test. Always a test. Stay indoors. Close your windows. Resume normal activity afterward. Some didn't. There are testimonies, smuggled out years later, of people who left their apartments after the sirens, only to find stairwells sealed with fresh concrete. Entire buildings are locked from the outside. Military vehicles idling in the streets, engines running, lights off. Men in unfamiliar uniforms, faces hidden behind masks. And then, as suddenly as it began, everything went silent. No more sirens, no more announcements, no trains are leaving, no mail arriving. On a cold morning in early spring, residents woke to find notices posted in every building entrance. Simple paper, no letterhead, no signatures. You are to prepare for immediate relocation. Take essential belongings only. Transportation will be provided. No reason, no destination, no questions allowed. Buses arrived within hours. Long lines of them, stretching beyond the city lawn. Not ruined, not abandoned, gone. Maps were updated. Administrative boundaries redrawn. Census data adjusted. Archives edited. The city's name was scrubbed from public records. Even weather reports stopped referencing it. It was as if someone had reached into reality and carefully cut it out. Former residents were resettled across the country. They were told never to discuss where they came from. Some received compensation. Others received nothing. Many changed their accents. Some changed their names. A few tried to tell their stories and found doors closing in their faces. One man attempted to file a lawsuit demanding recognition of his birthplace. The court ruled that the location he listed did not exist. Case dismissed. Years passed. Children who had grown up in the city became adults with fragmented memories. A playground that no longer appeared in photographs. A school that couldn't be found in any registry. A hometown that triggered uncomfortable silences at dinner tables. And then, decades later, something strange happened. An amateur cartographer, someone who spent nights comparing historical maps for fun, noticed an inconsistency. A gap. Not empty land, but land that didn't quite make sense. Road alignments that curved for no reason. Forests that grew in unnatural patterns. A river that bent as if avoiding something invisible. He dug deeper. Old military maps. Declassified satellite imagery. Logistics records that referenced supply routes with no destination. Slowly, a shape emerged. The outline of a city that should not be there. When he shared his findings online, the post disappeared within hours. Accounts were suspended, files corrupted, emails unanswered, but screenshots had already spread. Urban explorers began searching the area. Most found nothing, just trees, fields, silence, until one group found concrete. Not ruins, foundations, perfectly level slabs buried beneath soil and roots. Street markings are faintly visible under moss. Drainage systems are still intact, still leading somewhere. And deep underground, sealed chambers that radiation detectors reacted to violently. Whatever had been built beneath the city had not been removed. It had been buried. Today, the land is officially protected, fenced, patrolled, labeled as environmentally sensitive. Unauthorized entry is punishable by law. The official explanation changes